Hello guys, and welcome to another Devil May Cry Hall of Fame. This is going to be a little bit less, I guess, organized as the last video. This video I decided to do because even though this player isn't really well known and also doesn't have much stuff online, he has a few things that I kind of liked growing up, and most importantly, one of the first people to ever record his hands for gameplay footage. In fact, I think it's the first person. So, starting off with this video, it's is found on YouTube. It's called DMC 3 Finger Footage. It's uploaded by The Bomb. It was uploaded on June 1st, 2006. It showcases both Dante and Virgil footage. However, we should probably mostly focus on the Virgil footage as it comprises most of the footage, and also, quite frankly, his Virgil gameplay is very high level in this video, rather. You're going to be focusing mostly on Virgil. And now, as a disclaimer, this video is very old, and because of it, it's very hard to see what is going on exactly. For those of you who have played the game significantly, you can tell what is happening on his gameplay, like monitor or TV, whatever, but you can't really tell what's happening with his fingers. That means that I cannot tell you exactly what control layout he is using. He is most likely using a default control scheme, or he has jump on square and shoot on X. That's what I've gathered so far. It could be a bit different, I don't know. This is kind of important though, because even though you cannot really tell specific details, you can tell that he's using a technique that is very common throughout many games and is definitely common with Devil May Cry, which is sliding your finger. It's called sliding. First of all, before we get to that, we can look that he holds spiral swords with his right thumb sometimes, but if he's doing JCs or attacks with his right thumb, he will recruit his left thumb to hold down on the gun button. This is something that I also have done when I was starting off with Virgil in DMC 3. Other players have done similar things as well. It kind of, and this might be wrong, but it maybe has influenced my my playstyle early on when it comes to holding down for spiral swords with a different hand. Although, if I remember correctly, I used to use my index finger, my left index, and it probably has inspired other players to do similar things. So even though it's a small detail, it is worth pointing out. The other thing is that he slides, and this is very obvious. You can tell the motion that his fingers and hands do. He is sliding his thumb from jump to melee. Again, I don't know the exact control layout, but he is definitely sliding for jump cancels. We see the same hand movement every single time that Virgil is doing a bunch of Yamato Rave JCs. Also, it is a little bit of an awkward kind of slide. There's a lot of wrist movement, which thankfully I don't think this guy played DMC for many years, because that long term, that's gonna give you some sort of carpal tunnel, I think. But, you know, it looks cool, and it explains why, and we'll see this later on, why his JCs with Virgil are so good, why they're so fast. He is one of the first players with like incredible APM with Virgil when it comes to his Rave JCs. We also see him use Judgment Cut into Blistering Swords. And while he's shooting Blistering Swords, he's also shooting Extra Summon Swords. We've seen similar things with other players around this time. Second video we're going to talk about, and there's like another video that we skipped. It's going to be the True Style Tournament 2 entry that he made. It's not very special, I would say, no offense, but I may cover that in a future video where I talk about the True Style Tournament series. I don't know if I'll do that though. A lot of things are kind of lost in time, and it will be a headache to get my hands on a bunch of footage. Anyways, the next video that we're going to talk about is called DMC 3 Deadly Eclipse, and this is a duo by Xarugas. Wait, did I ever say his name at the start of this video? I am so sorry if I didn't say his name. I think that's how you pronounce his name, Xarugas. And another player called Integsta, I think that's how you pronounce the name. And this was released around 2006. I will have to be honest, I cannot tell the difference between both of these players, so I'm going to be covering clips of both him and Integsta, I think. I'm sorry. So for this section in particular, I'm not just covering Xarugas, okay? So just covering whatever this video had to offer. This video seems to have made a significant impact for its time in the early style scene of DMC3. We see it referenced and talked about in other videos, in the comment sections by other players. We even see a reference to it in Ethereal S's True Style Tournament 2 video, which I may make a video on him as well. So starting off, we see a early understanding of Quicksilver and vulnerability, just like in the previous video. These were some of the first players who recognized that activating Quicksilver can help you go through attacks and not get damaged. We also see some good Helmbreaker JCs, and it's even done at varying heights. So first you see him do Helmbreaker, then jump cancel at full height, and then do another Helmbreaker. And sometimes he adds an air hike, adding some level of variation to his jump cancel. These jump cancels are pretty annoying to get consistently, so yeah, it is kind of impressive. It is kind of a show of skill for the time. Now we see trick canceling the first hit of Force Edge combo for Virgil. This isn't, crazy or anything, right? But, this is kind of early DMC, and it adds some variety to the gameplay, and adds variety to the ground combat, which there's going to be a period later in history where you rarely see this sort of like ground combat stuff. You're going to see juggles, but we may cover that in a future video. He is really, really precise with Helmbreaker trick up JC variations. So remember the previous videos with Tatsumaro Black, he was doing trick up Helmbreaker JC, trick up Helmbreaker JC, and mixing it up with like summon swords or raves and stuff. Xarugas is really good at that, and we see this when it comes to him doing Helmbreaker into a bunch of JC raves near the ground, and these raves are like as perfect as you can get, especially for the time. And he will add in a dive kick in it, and when you add in a dive kick in that sequence, when you're first starting out and learning this, you kind of have to remember to not JC with the same rhythm that you are JCing rave. So it's a little bit of a mix-up, and it does require some level of positioning. So yeah, it is pretty nice. To my knowledge, and I could be wrong about this because I haven't played DMC3 in a while, seriously, or I haven't labbed in a bit, let's say. I'm rusty. When you do that Helmbreaker into JC into dive kick, after the dive kick, you have to let the JC play out a little bit again with the rave. Otherwise, your input will be ignored because below a certain height, it's you don't get your inputs recognized. So yeah, even in DMC3, there is a height limit. It's just very subtle. It's much more subtle compared to DMC4, for example. But yeah, this kind of like changing in timing is kind of skillful. It's pretty nice, pretty nice. Oh, we see Vortex JCs using Quicksilver. I can't remember if another video prior to this have showcased, Dante going to air raid and then using Vortex and jump canceling that on an airborne enemy. I think this might be the first, or one of the first at the very least. We also see Volcano JCs. I don't know how early this is. It might even be before Tatsumaro Black used some Volcano JCs. But it's worth noting that it's just kind of like a showcase of Volcano JC. It's not really using it in any complex string. So it's kind of meh, but, on its own, it's not that important. But obviously for history's sakes, it is kind of important. There's some beautiful Nilo Angelo JCs with timing adjustments to the dive kick and the Helmbreakers at some point. And yeah, if you just watch how he adjusts his JC, so he lets JC play out a little bit, and the jump cancel play out a little bit, so that he positions himself so that the next attack can be jump canceled as well. Yeah, the timing on that is pretty difficult for the time. We also see some switching between airborne enemies with dive kick and Quicksilver. We also see some beautiful trickster movement against blood gargoyles. This is kind of underrated in terms of how these enemies are fought against. So I know these enemies, blood gargoyles, can be a pain in the ass, especially when they split when you melee them. However, they can be really cool just in terms of movement, especially with Trickster, because they're a highly mobile enemy and they fly around and they have a huge AC hitbox. And he's using walls to wall run and such. He also uses air raid at some point to stay in the air just very sparsely. It's not over relied upon. It's really nicely used. And we also see some beautiful trickster against envies in Leviathan's belly, and it's a fairly unconventional area where you see freestyle again. It was pretty good at the time, and it still is holding up pretty well now. Lastly, we're going to talk about DMC3 Wildfire. This is a, according to him, really old video. The oldest upload I can find is from February 17th, 2007. This video isn't really special in terms of gameplay advancements, but it is one of my personal favorite videos in the past because it just has a lot of cool editing and like very fast-paced short clips being edited. It's just a hype video in my opinion, honestly. At the very start, we see some ultimate Tempest usage, even against Leviathan, which is pretty nice. I don't know if Ultimate Tempest has been used before this time period, but yeah, this is like one of the earliest Ultimate Tempest usages I can find on the internet. As I said, the video is pretty damn hype, especially in the second part where it uses a song that I cannot for the life of me find. I could only find it in other videos for DMC3, ironically, or DMC4, I think. Every time I need to listen to the song, I just load up this video and listen to it to sort of like match that up. He puts in footage with his insane JC with raves with Virgil. For the time, this is probably the fastest JCs you will ever see. And for those of you who don't know, even the first part of, so like, let's think about the anatomy of Yamato rave for Virgil. He does the sound where it's like hot Z, right? And the Z at the end is the hit that knocks the enemy back. But the first part is actually, even though it seems like one hit, it's actually two hits. The hits before the knockback is actually two hits. And when you see these JCs, if you're really good at the game with Virgil, you don't even really have to be really good at the game. You just have to be decent at JCing, right? You'll realize that he's basically JCing the first hit every single time and not allowing for the second hit to hit the enemy. Again, even though it seems like one slash is actually two slashes that stun the enemy. That's how fast he is JCing, which is, again, for the time, insane. Yeah, and finally, we see a luster cut being a menace since ancient times. Again, this video is not very, organized, so if I sound weird, it's because I'm doing this impromptu. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys. This was Xarugas, and to some extent, Integsta. Integsta? I'm sorry, dude. I'm so bad. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing Xarugas right, but next videos we're gonna be covering also similar players who don't have much online, but for one reason or another I want to cover. Hopefully we'll get to more videos on the line quickly. I'm working on several videos. Anyways, thanks for watching. Have a good day.